Well, the Republican-controlled Ohio State Senate has just passed a measure that would restrict the collective bargaining rights of hundreds of thousands of workers there. We're talking about 350,000 teachers, university professors, firefighters, police officers, and other public employees. The legislation passed on a 17-16 vote, with all yes votes coming from Republicans. Now, this is a state that, like Wisconsin, we've seen protests. So we want to go now to someone on the ground there. Corey Ansel is the organizer for the Columbus, Ohio branch of the A.N.S.W.E.R Coalition. Hey, Corey, this news just coming down. Tell us a little bit about what the mood is like there.
Well, what we've seen recently here, especially in the last couple of weeks, has been the reactionary right coming out against the working class and the working people of Ohio. Not only of these protests have we seen thousands of union workers coming out against this bill, we've also seen other workers, ununionized people, students, and other activists. We have massive mobilizations coming out against this. And the fact that this bill is passed, in my opinion, will not mean much. I think the people will continue to mobilize against this very anti-worker legislation, and there's nothing good about it.
But from what I understand, your governor there has endorsed this measure and says he'll sign it. I mean, any indication that you're getting from the time you've spent there that there's going to be something done to stop that?
Well, I think not only at these protests are we seeing people coming out against Senate Bill 5, people are also very opposed to the direction that Governor Kasich is taking Ohio. Governor Kasich, you know, he has his ties to corporations, to banks, to executives, and he's serving the interests of those people. He claims that he has to solve a budget crisis in Ohio, but never once has he talked about taxing the rich or the corporations. He's just consistently scapegoated the working class people of Ohio, and people will not take it anymore.
Now, from what I understand, this bill that's just passed actually includes jail time for workers who strike. Is this something that people there are talking about?
I guess, you know, the multitude of things that are wrong with Senate Bill 5 have all been on the table. You know, we do realize that there are many aspects of this bill that are purely just ridiculous. You know, if you would look at it on paper, it's almost absurd to see what this government is attempting to do to the working people of Ohio, and the massive mobilization of unions against it. You know, this is not something popular in Ohio. This is something that the right is trying to force upon the working people of this state.
Now, I'm assuming, I haven't been to Ohio recently, but I'm assuming that a lot of the talk on the ground there, like Wisconsin, is that a lot of these lawmakers are trying to say that by doing this, this will help balance the budget. What has been the reaction of people that you've spoken to about that as a reason?
It's almost kind of laughable to suggest that we need to balance the budget by, you know, harming the people who are the foundation of this country. The working class people of this country who make everything are the ones being scapegoated. That's why, you know, we've consistently been on the ground talking to people, working with the unions and everyone there to help fight against this. You know, the working people of Ohio want a budget that meets their needs. Signs at the protests have talked about, you know, how we need health care, education, that workers' rights are human rights, but the government's not hearing any of this. In fact, they've been very reluctant to even let people in on the deliberations in the State House. The workers had to force their way into the State House. And so it just shows that the government here, the Republican government, is disconnected from the working people of the state. They don't really tend to understand where we're coming from, and that's obviously shown in this bill.
Now, Corey, I know we've seen a lot of what's going on in Wisconsin, a little bit less in Ohio, but let's talk now about the bigger picture here. What do you think this means for people in all 50 states in this country that this has passed?
Well, I think it means a lot, like you said, that not only are these protests happening in Ohio, they're also happening across the country. And that shows that the struggle of the working class here is not something that is just, it's not something that's just in one city or isolated to one state. It's something that will span across the entire country. And as this legislation tends to come up, especially after the elections, these things are being proposed in states across the country. And I think the working class and the working people, the unions and other activists are going to have to come together to fight this. This is not something that anyone can do on their own. It's something that we all have to stand up and fight against. And I think that this is something that we may see a struggle in states across the country as these years continue to progress.